Hi everybody, welcome to Tranquil Stitches. My name is Cheryl and I'd like to share with you my 2021 planner setup and show you what I'll be using this year. I've got everything here that I'll be using, but I'm only going to just briefly go over the things that aren't related to cross stitch. But I thought maybe that some of you might want to see the other things as well. I like to watch planner videos and see how people have set up their planners and how they're tracking their life and their adventures and their memories and things like that. So I hope you enjoy. But let's get into it. So these are the 4 books that I'll be using, and each of these 4 books have a specific purpose. I don't overcomplicate my planner system. I keep it as simple as humanly possible because I just don't need a lot of pages and things to keep up with during the year, because the more I have, it seems like the less that I keep up with. So I have learned over the years to simplify everything to the biggest extent possible. So that's what I've done. The first thing that is a new purchase this year is, set these aside for a minute, is this. This is a traveler's notebook that I got from Amazon. I have been watching videos for years about traveler's notebooks, and I haven't jumped into that pool until now. The reason that I decided that this is the year is my husband and I will be doing some traveling this year. We're going to resume our adventures per se. We like to take day trips. We like to just get in the car and drive and see where we end up. So I wanted to somehow document our adventures, and a traveler's notebook can be used for planning, journaling, just everyday things, but it's meant really to be something portable that you can take with you to travel, when you travel, and to document your journeys. So I got this one, which was a very good deal, and I will link it below on Amazon. It will be an affiliate link, but I will link it below, and in case you're interested in one of them for yourself. But it was very reasonably priced. I was very impressed with the price and what you get for your money. But it's a leather cover, and it's handcrafted, it says. It's got this little leather protective thing that goes over the opening so that the band around it doesn't damage your cover over time. So I thought I liked that too. And the more I use this, the more I play with it, the more I toss and tumble it, it's going to just patina, and it's going to be just lovely. So I love the look of old used leather. So I'm excited to see how that looks at the end of the year. So inside here, here's my plan. This came with 3 inserts, and I've taken 2 of them out, and I'm only going to use one of them, the one that came with it. But it came with this clip to hold your pages open, which I really like. It's like a little clipboard. But this is one of the inserts that came with it. It's lined, and I'm going to, each one of our little trips or adventures, I'm going to journal on this one. I'm going to keep up with some notes and write down some thoughts and just some memories that we had along the way. It's lined, so I can do that. These are not expensive at all, so once I fill this one up, I'll be moving to the next one. And then I also purchased these separate. This is craft paper, and I love the look of this craft paper. I really like this. So in this insert, I'm going to do a little junk journaling. Any receipts or any postcards I pick up, any paper trinkets, napkins, things like that I pick up, I'm going to just junk journal in this one and put in some junk journaling paraphernalia, if it were, as it were. It also came with a zipper pocket, which I think is wonderful, because if you don't have time to plan at the very moment, you can stick your things down in here to use later. And these little pockets here, which I think are just awesome. that it comes with it, and then it also comes with this file that you can put in maps or menus or things like that, and it comes with it came with a pen holder as well. So this is what's going to be going with me on our adventures. I'll be working on this in the hotels or wherever we stay, B&Bs, whatever it is, and then, you know, of course, finish it up, pretty it up when I get home. So that's the plan for my traveler's notebook. This will just be used for the traveling that we do this year. Next, I have my catch-all planner. I fell in love with this planner. Sorry for the light, but it's very overcast today. I fell in love with this planner when Happy Planner released it. It is an 18-month planner. No, it's a 12-month planner. It's one of the new ones that came out in January. I switched out some of the discs. It came with these purple metal discs, and I had these like lavender metal discs, so I just alternated them, and I think it's beautiful. But I love the foil on the cover and how it just shines. It's just beautiful. Fell in love with that. So in this journal, I keep our daily plans, our daily appointments, grocery shopping, if we need to go somewhere, do something, when I trimmed Sophie's nails last, you know, things like that. This is what's in this book, cleaning schedule, things like that in the front. It's just a regular planner, and I also do a little bit of journaling in it. I'll write down anything that happens during the day that I want to, you know, anything memorable that happens. I have so that's the first part of this planner, and I haven't really played with it yet to get it to fill in a lot of things, but I just haven't filled up to it yet, but I will. And then the second tab, the first tab in the journal, in the planner, is my journal, and this is an January and February inserts from a different planner. It's horizontal, so I like the horizontal Happy Planner to journal in because you have more room to write. So this is my daily, day-to-day journal that I'll be writing down my thoughts and things like that. And then the second tab is my wellness, and it is where I'll track all matters of my diet, my medicines, my exercise, things like that. So I track that under the wellness tab. And that's what I have in this one. I'm just keeping it very simple this year. That's not going to be overly complicated to keep up with. So that's my catch-all planner. And I love the Happy Planner system, as you know, because I can take pages out, put pages in, and make it customizable, which is what I love. There's 3 different planners in that one planner, and each of them have a different format, so it works. Now, this little book I used throughout all of 2020, and this is my stitching that I'm getting ready to talk with you about. This little book stays in my stitchy spot, and I'll explain how I track my stitches, how I track my projects, and how I keep up with how many stitches I get a month, how many stitches I get a year, things like that. That's what I'm getting ready to go over. So this little book stays at my stitching spot, and what I put in here are the projects that I work on and how many stitches. So it's a very simple little thing. In January of 2020, I wrote down each project that I worked on, and I broke it down per floss tube because if I want to go back and look at that project, I'll know which floss tube it's in. If you don't floss tube or anything like that, you wouldn't do that. It'll just be a running total for January. If you repeat things, it's fine. I'll just put down each session that I use for each project. So, for example, Home of a Needleworker was a new start in January of 2020, and I put 627 stitches in it for that session. I also worked on it down here, I worked on it again here, and I worked on it again here, and I finished it. So it was a daily 30 piece. So I just track the stitches that I stitch each session. Now, I rewrote this from its original, so I want to show you how an original would work. Like March and April, I didn't do much stitching at all. May was, of course, mania, and June didn't do much stitching at all in June. July, I got a little bit more, and August, this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So my daily 30 piece, this is how I track my daily 30. If I put if I sit down at night and I put 145 stitches in, instead of putting the total over here, I'll put it over here, and then I'll just, any other sessions that I have, I just put it here, put a parentheses around it, and then total it. So you don't have to keep each project each time. Like if you put 50 stitches in it, you don't want to put 50 here and then go down to another line and put it again and put 50 more stitches, because that can take up a lot of space. So if you do it like this, then you can just add it up when you get a good chunk and put it over here. So that's what I do with that. September was not a good stitching month either. I struggled for several months last year. There's my December, which I came on strong in December and stitched a lot of stitches, but here is my January. I've already started. So each session, if you'll notice, Village has its stitch count over here because I plan to work on that again. So if I don't, I can just carry the 403 over here. Same with the Blue to Sheen. You know, this is my daily 30 right now, so as I stitch, I'll just put totals in here, and then I'll end it off when I get ready to do my floss tube and put the whole total over here. And then what I do is I draw a line under it and put the total stitched over here, and then total them up at the end of the month. So now, as far as my actual stitching, now as far as how I track my stitches, and I'm going to show you this, you can't get anything from this. So I make a working copy of what I'm working on, okay? And then I will stitch a chunk of that during a session. After I finish stitching, I will take my highlighter and I'll highlight what I just stitched and count it. I open my calculator and on my phone, and I'll count up like 30, 40 stitches, and I'll put 30 in there plus, and then I'll highlight 30 more, put 30 into my calculator plus, and I'll keep going until I highlight everything that I just stitched. And I'll put my total in the margin somewhere, and that way if I'm going to continue to stitch on it like later on that evening or whatever, I'll know where I started in case my calculator clears. So, and then once I'm finished for that session, I'll put it in my book. So that's the way I track my stitches. It's very, very simple. It's so simple. Like if you get distracted easily while you're counting, just count 10, highlight 10 and put 10 in your calculator, and then you don't have to count up hundreds of stitches at once and get yourself confused, just because you're keeping a running total on your calculator. So count up 10, put 10 in there, count up 15 more, put plus 15, and then 20 more plus 20, and until you get everything highlighted that you just stitched, and that way you'll have your total. So it's so simple. It's so simple. Don't make it complicated on yourself. Just make you a working copy, get you a highlighter, and just count after you've stitched for the night. You don't have to stop and count, stop and count, stop and count if you don't want to. Just count what you've stitched at the end when you're done with your stitching. Or the next morning, look at what you've stitched and just highlight at that point. So just don't make it hard on yourself. It's not hard. And then, like I said, after I finish with that, I'll put it in here. Now, this is my hobby planner for 2021. It will keep all of my cross stitch and my other hobbies information. I don't keep much information except for stitch counts and projects, and start dates and finish dates and things like that. So let me show you what I've got in here. I have tabs for my cross stitch, my crochet, yes, you heard me right, crochet, my diamond painting, and my journals. So those are my hobbies that I play with during the month, and they each have their own little section. Nothing fancy, nothing drawn out. My cross stitch. Now I'm going to start at the back of this tab because I want to show you what I did last year. And I'm doing the same thing again this year. So this was the first thing that I did when 2020 started. I wrote down all of the whips that I carried over from 2019. Everything that was a whip on January 1st, 2020, I wrote down. These were my regular whips and these were my Darktober starts. As I finish them, I highlight them, okay, so that I'll know that when I do this, the December of 2020, then the ones that are highlighted don't need to be carried over. And I make this chart. This is my bread and butter right here. So easy to do. Okay, so I transferred those. Now the reason I write this down is because I want to see which whips come over from 2019. I'm not going to, this is just a list of the whips for my I don't track any stitches or anything on this one. This is just a list of the whips. These things then go here, okay? This is the way that I track these. I have my 2019 stitches, which now a couple of these were, I just started this January of 2020, so this system. So some of these stitches were 2018, but from the time that I started counting stitches is what I went from. Anything that was already in it on January 1st, 2020 that I had counted is in this column. Okay? And I'll show you how I carry that over to 2021. I put a finish date on here because these are obviously whips and I want to know what day I finished them. 2020 stitches. This is my new stitch count. This was blank until December. I did not track any of these stitches, well, unless I finished it. When I finished it, I plugged in the number. But I'll show you how I did that. But 2020 stitches is blank unless I finish something for the whole year. And then total stitches. I totaled up how many I did prior to January 1st, 2020, how many I did in 2020, and then totaled it. Easy, easy. So this, in a glance, I can see which ones of the older whips that I finished and how many stitches I put in there. The next page is my 2020 starts. And these two pages are all you need. These two pages are all you need. 2020 new starts, a column for started, a column for finished. If I finished it in 2020, I could put the date down there and then how many stitches I did in 2020 on that project. So in order to track your projects and your stitches, these are the only two you need. You don't even have to do this one if you're not carrying any whips over. Or if you just started stitching, you can make this list if you just started stitching, the whips carried over from 2020, and then make you a new 2021 new starts, and you're ready to go if you just start counting. So how do I get this number? Do you remember this book? Do you remember this book? Okay. Every time I work on a project, it's in this book. So, for example, Good Intentions in June, I put 511 stitches in it. I'll get out my trusty calculator at the end of the year and I'll go through each page with each project and I'll put 511 in there and I'll go and I'll see in July if I stitched on it, and I did 491. I'll add those. Good Intentions finished. Duh, right there. Okay. So in July, I stitched on it again, 334 stitches, and I wrote finish out by it. So I'll add up for that project every time I touched it, and that's how I get my number. And you'll see it's kind of messy because I messed up, you know, my counting, and I can add up by month. I keep track by month of how many I have stitched for that month, okay? At the end of the year, I add up all the monthly totals. And then this plus this column should equal the total for all 12 of my months. And if it doesn't, I've messed up. I've left out some stitches somewhere. So you can check yourself, you know, by adding up the monthlies in this book and then adding up per project here. 20 stitches here, 20 stitch on the whips that I brought forward, and 20 stitches on my new starts should add up to what I have in here. So that's how I track my stitches and my projects. So for on December 31st, oh, I also put down my finishes. This includes anything I brought forward and my 2020 starts. So I had 18 finishes for 2020. Every time I finish something, I add it to this list. So I'll know in a glance how many projects I finished for the year. Now on December 31st, I put over my whips carried from 2019 because I still want to see those. I want to see my oldest whips. I made whips carried over from 2020 and put them on my whip list. Whips brought into 2021. Stitches to date, finish, 2021 stitches, total stitches. So say I finished New Year's Sampler. I'll total in my book all of 2021 stitches and put that figure here. I'll add these two figures and that'll give me my total stitches for that project. And at the end, well, the other sheet I have is my 2021 new starts, set up the same way. Started, finished, 2021 stitches. See? Real simple. And this, on December 31st, I wrote down my 2020 stats. I wrote down each month how many starts I had, how many stitches I put in based on this book, and how many finishes I had. I started 26 projects in 2020 and I finished 18 of them. I had a total of 62,016 stitches for the year. So this total right here should match whips carried over, 2020 stitches, plus my 2020 new starts, 2020 stitches. If this total doesn't match the total of those two sheets, then you're off somewhere. So go back through your book. It's not hard. It's honestly not hard. And you can do this on a spreadsheet if you want to, so that it does the math for you. I'm a paper and pen girl. I like touching paper and pen, so that's why I do it this way. I also put down my best month, which was February, my worst month, which was November. And then I came in with 24 whips, plus 26 new starts, minus 18 finishes. I UFO'd 2 things, and I ended with 30 whips. So on this sheet here, I have 30 whips. 30 whips brought into 2021. I also divided it by stitch count by 12 to see how many stitches I stitched a month, average. Then I also put my hours totals in there. So this sheet is very simple because you've got this book, and all you've got to do is transfer your numbers over here on one sheet so that you can see your year at a glance. So it's fun to play with. It's a lot of fun. If you enjoy listing and making things like, you know, that it's just a lot of fun. To me anyway. Now, after my new start page, I have my WhipGo. This is my WhipGo board for the year. So I printed it and I have it in my planner. And as I meet a goal, and if it's called, I'll highlight it. Number 6 was called in January. Number 13 was a new start. I started it, so I highlighted it. It's done. That block is done. And then number 18 was called. And I'll just put the month that it's called, highlight it, because I know that if I complete my goal, and I've already highlighted that it's called, I can mark it out. My husband has chosen my prizes for bingo. He did bingo several different ways, diagonally, vertically. He did the 4 corners, the picture frame, the cover all. He did all kinds of different ways that I can bingo. A small square here, and he came up with my prizes. I wrote down some things that I'd like to have, like a dinner at Outback, or take me to Sonic for a milkshake, or something like, you know, small things like that. And then he came up with some on his own too, and I don't know what those are, and I won't know until I bingo. So that just added an element of fun in it that I really like. And then I wanted to participate in Semi-Sane somehow, and they're having an event called Take a Hike, and they have 40 different hiking spots across the world, and how many stitches, which I'm assuming they're miles. Well, it wouldn't be miles. I don't know how they came up with the numbers. I don't know if it's a number, steps, if it's feet. I don't think it's miles, but anyway, so I'm tracking this in the group, and as I finish each hike, I'm going to come here and check it off. That's just a personal thing that I'm doing. I'm not really doing it officially in the group. I have my post out there, but as you finish each hike, you can ask for a badge, which is pretty cool. So the whole total for this is 313,097 stitches, and of course I put 2021 onward because I'm not going to stitch. I don't think it's humanly possible for me to stitch 313. Well, I guess it would be if it's all I did, but so that's a big challenge that I'll continue even after this year's over. So I like things like that. I like keeping up with my numbers and doing things like that. Now, this tab is for my crochet. I am going to be starting an Afghan as soon as the rest of my stuff gets here from Joann's. So I'll be writing notes and things down for that in here. My diamond painting, same thing. My whips and my new diamond paintings, anything like that. And then my journals, same thing. So just notes for myself. Now, there are a lot of stitchers who keep up with what fabric they're using on their pages, detailed information like what threads they're using, any conversions, just the designer's name, the date the chart was published, everything like that, and that's all right. I applaud those people because you do you keep up with what you want to keep up with. To me, I never have been one to keep up with fabric and flosses because to me it doesn't matter. When I'm a journey stitcher, I don't stitch for the finishes, and I just like the process of stitching. When I am no longer here and I leave my stitching to my family to disperse any way they see fit, they're not going to care what fabric it's on. They're not going to care what threads I used. And I honestly don't, you know, if someone's going to stitch a project, then they have a recommended fabric on the chart, and if they want to put it on a different fabric, it's up to them. You know, I just don't think there are too many people out there who want to copy somebody else's fabric and flosses to the exact, you know, and say, well, she used this, so I'm going to use this. You know, it does happen sometimes because some of the ending projects are just beautiful that people put together, and I get that. But for the most part, people do their own thing, and that's, you know, that's just why I'll share if I know it. But like, I have lots and lots of threads in my stash, lots of fabric in my stash that I don't even know what it is. You know, I've just accumulated it over the years, and if I see a color that I'd like to use, I use it. You know, and that's not something that I track, because to me personally, doesn't mean you can't do it if you don't want to do it. But to me, that's just not something that I track. That's not something I prefer to track. My kids aren't going to care. You know, my kids are not going to care. And if they do have things framed and put up on their walls, people aren't going to come in and say, ooh, that's pretty. What fabric did she use? They're not going to ask those questions. Did she convert that thread? You know. So, you know, it's not something that I just feel like I need to track. So, to each their own. And like I said, if you're the type of person that wants to do that, it's fun to watch people who do that, you know, but it's just not for me. So that is my planner setup for 2021, and what all I'm tracking, what all I'm doing with myself, with my planners. And I appreciate you stopping by today, and I hope that you found some inspiration somewhere in this post, and I hope that you are keeping up with your stitching projects any way that you'd like. And I wish you a very happy and healthy 2021, and until I see you again, happy stitching.